Hey, what's up guys, Steven here. Welcome back to another camera comparison, and today we're comparing the cameras between two Huawei budget phones. We got here the P40 Lite and the P-Smart 2021, and today we'll find out which of them has the better camera and if the P40 Lite is really worth it, or if you should actually get the very cheap P-Smart 2021.
With an illusion, like a sparrow with broken wings, but now I shine with your reflection on me. Getting back up on my feet that you showed.
Alright, so there we go, and we now have both budget smartphones right over here, the P-Smart 2021 and the P40 Lite. So in my 6 months after review of the P40 Lite, many people asked me, is this still a good camera smartphone because it's from the P40 series? And also there were a lot of questions like, can it shoot RAW pictures? And this is actually why I'm comparing them. So first of all, before we have a look at the image quality on the computer, let's maybe check out the camera application, because here you can already see some of the of the limitations. Now both smartphones have actually the same camera hardware, very similar camera hardware. Both have a 48 megapixel sensor with an f1.8 26mm wide camera. We have also 8 megapixels ultra wide on both with f2.4, 2 megapixel f2.4 macro and 2 megapixel f2.4 depth. The only difference here is that the P40 Lite has actually a 16 megapixel front-facing camera with f2.0, and the P-Smart 2021 has an 8 megapixel f2.0, both wide angle. So yeah, that are basically the differences in terms of the camera hardware, but in general they are very similar. Now, if we check out here the camera app, so here we have the P-Smart, here the P40 Lite, then we can go here to more. And on all the Huawei smartphones there is a Pro mode. But just like on the new iPhone 12 Pro, some of the smartphones, they cannot shoot RAW pictures. So you have here the settings, and in the settings, as you can see, you usually have RAW options if your smartphone does support it. But as you can see here on both smartphones, there is no RAW option. Also, we already see the next limitation, which are the video settings. So we cannot record in 4K, but we can also not record in 1080p 60 frames. So as you can see, both smartphones, they max out at 30 frames per second. This is a limitation of the chipset. So the chipset doesn't support high frame rate recording, nor it doesn't support 4K recording on those budget phones. And in Pro mode, there is the high resolution mode in 48 megapixels, but you do not have the RAW option in there. Other than that, we have a lot of options which also the other big brothers have, like HDR, light painting, aperture, night mode. So also the night mode is actually really quite decent on the budget phones, even if you don't have a tripod. And it's kind of funny that there is AR lens on the P40 Lite, but on the P-Smart this is also missing, but it's not really a feature I would actually use. So in terms of the camera hardware, that are kind of the limitations, as you can see, but not only because of the camera, but because of the chipset. It doesn't have enough power to encode 4K, so it's not supported by the chipset. This is why you cannot record 4K, also with the front-facing camera. No high frame rate and also no RAW pictures, at least with the default app. Of course, there are some applications that kind of do RAW pictures, but it's not like the same if it's officially supported. Alright guys, and now I would say let's quickly go to the computer and let's check out the image quality of some pictures I took during my travels. Alright guys, so we're now here on the computer, and today we'll do a little bit different. So instead of showing you them in a comparison side by side, I'll just open them on the computer. I've just copied that from the smartphone, so they're really unedited, and we'll zoom in, check out the detail, and there we go. So as you can see here, on the left side is the P40 Lite, on the right side the P-Smart 2021. I took them on some trips, and let's start first of all with a daylight picture. And for instance, really good in comparison is this one. So this here on the right side is from the P-Smart, and there we have one from the P40 Lite now here on the left side, and there we go. And as you can already see at the first look, so it looks a little bit like there is some more sharpening going on the P-Smart. and also here the colors look kind of different. You see the dynamic range, the post-processing on the P40 Lite is actually better. You see here for instance the sky wall. This here is actually blown out to highlight the trees here a little bit more, but actually I focus on both pictures on the trees. And if we check out here the sharpness, let's check it out here in the foreground. So here we have the tree, we zoom to the same zoom, so it's 20 right over here, and we also go to 20 here on the P40 Lite, and as you can see there is much more sharpening going on the P Smart, and the processing on the P40 Lite looks, at least to me, much better. You see here, even though it's not that rough sharpening, you have more detail here and it looks just way better. Also, if you check out that hotel there in the background, you see here you can see Sport Hotel, still very good on the P40, and if you check that out here on the P Smart, you can barely read it. So yeah, the processing, even though the hardware sounds kind of the same, the P40 Lite in my opinion is definitely the better choice. So that's one of the daylight pictures. I took several other daylight pictures where you can see actually the same thing going on. For instance, we have here the BMW 420D, here the P Smart on the right side. Now let's take the P40 Lite here on the left side. And also, as you can see here, the detail, now it looks actually much nicer on the P40 Lite than on the P Smart. And just check out here the edges. We zoom a little bit in here on the headlights, so let's go to 30. We're also gonna choose 30 right over here, and there we go. And as you can see, headlight here, the edges, so there's a lot of weird sharpening with artifacts going on the P Smart, and on the P40 Lite the processing is definitely better in my opinion. Also, I like the colors way more, so they are much more like the car really looks in reality, because it's kind of blue, and here on the P Smart it's like a little bit of a green tint in the picture. So even though those budget smartphones on the paper have the same hardware, there is really a difference, and the P40 Lite in my opinion does actually better pictures. Alright, then now we can check out some low light pictures. For instance, here I took a picture of the BMW, or let's take this one right over here. That's a good example, and there we go. Then let's also take this one here on the P40 on the P Smart, and the P40 Lite, as you can see, of course it is darker, but both of them have been focused on the BMW logo. We can actually zoom in here a little bit, and let's go to 30. We go to 30 also here on the P40 Lite, and check out the BMW logo. So basically really huge difference. Here you see all the noise in the picture, all the sharpening. Here for instance you see the noise really good, the difference in noise right over here. Yeah, we have here really blown out highlights, as you can see, even though yeah, the darker areas here almost with the same exposure level. So there are also some more pictures, like let's check out here the numbers. We have now here this picture. It's a kind of close-up picture from the ground, and there we go. And you see already we have punchier colors, we have more contrast on the P40 Lite here on the left side. And let's zoom in here a little bit. So let's go to 40. Here we also go to 40. And yeah, you can definitely see here the outer edges here. It looks actually smoother on the P40 Lite, and here on the P Smart, all the detail here is kind of gone, but here you can still see the grain here of the floor. And yeah, don't be fooled by hardware specifications, they really don't matter too much unless you have seen them in real life. Then now let's talk about long exposure, and here also the processing, you see a huge difference between those two. So well, both were handheld, so both of them have night mode, so that long exposure, exposure bracketing, and here you really also see a big difference. If we zoom in here to 30, and also here on the P Smart, then just check this out, the detail of the car. Here we have a lot of softening going on, of course, but as you can see, it's almost impossible to repair this car because it's already really bad. There's a lot of noise going on, and also the terrain here. I mean, just check this out. So the P40 Lite is doing here a way better job. And guys, I could repeat this for every picture. There's really a huge difference. If you zoom in a little bit, you will see the processing looks just so much better on the P40 Lite, even though on the paper there's the same hardware. So if you're looking for a budget Huawei smartphone, in my opinion, I would get the P40 Lite. Now when it comes to the selfie camera, well, you probably think the 16 megapixels on the paper are so much better on the P40 Lite, but actually no, it's just kind of different if you check this out. So on the P-Smart 2021, there's actually no real object separation. Now both of them have been taken in normal mode, no portrait mode, no beauty mode. But on both smartphones we actually have a lot of face smoothing going on, so as you can see right over here and right over here. But on the P-Smart you don't get any bokeh, which I actually prefer because it keeps everything nice and sharp. On the P40 Lite you have a little bit kind of bokeh, as you can see, so it doesn't matter which selfie I'm gonna open. The BMW in the background will always be a little bit blurry, while when I open any selfie here on the P-Smart 2021, as you can see, the BMW here and everything is kind of sharp, as you can see right over here. And this is something actually which I prefer, but if you prefer to have a little bit of soft bokeh in the background, then the P40 Lite is your go-to choice. Alright guys, that's regarding normal pictures, but what about videos? When it comes to videos, well, as I've told you before, you don't have any kinds of good stabilization, you don't have high frame rates, so videos are really shaky. And yeah, it's a budget smartphone, so they can record videos, but they're not really good at doing that. I'll now show you some examples and let me know what you think about that.
So guys, here's a quick video comparison between the P40 Lite and the P-Smart, and both can only maximum record in 1080p. And yeah, due to the chipset, because it doesn't support 4K recording. And check out the differences here in the color on both phones, also the exposure, and it seems like the quality of the video, at least on the screen, looks actually better on the P40 Lite, especially here right now. Let's focus on the back of the car, and as you can see, the dynamic range, the colors on the P-Smart, everything looks kind of darker and a little bit blurry, while it looks sharper, actually better on the P40 Lite. But let me know what you see right now on the screen. Then here it's also a nice test for the camera, and as you can see, we have here lots of whites. So check out the back in the clouds, where it's like very foggy on the top, if you can spot some differences, some details here on the street. Then maybe let's check out some close-ups right over here on the car. And there we go. So especially in the rear light, as you can see in the tail light, it looks actually more detailed on the P40 Lite, and also the dynamic range, as you can see, looks definitely better. Other than that, both phones, as said, feature only 1080p video recording maximum. Alright guys, so here's a quick front-facing camera comparison test between the P-Smart and the P40 Lite. And yeah, the P40 Lite, as you can see, looks much more detailed, especially in terms of my hair, the object separation. The skin tone, I'm not sure if it's a display right now, but check it out on the screen, looks more natural on the P40 Lite than on the P-Smart. On the P-Smart, I'm a little bit yellow, while there are more cool color tones on the P40 Lite. And yeah, also check out the background here. So P40 Lite definitely seems to be sharper, and also listen to the audio quality on both and let me know down below in the comments what you think.
Alright guys, so that's it. That was just a quick comparison. Now one reason I wouldn't use a budget phone, of course I love cheap smartphones, but the camera hardware is always that takes a hit on budget smartphones, especially also the audio quality in the video, as you've seen, and videos are really important for me. I do so much of TikTok, I upload 3 TikToks a day. And this is why I'm actually filming most of my TikToks with the Mate 40 Pro, because it has really amazing video features. Of course, I do understand people mostly don't care about those things, but I think cameras get even more and more important. And that's why I wanted to show you that you shouldn't be kind of fooled by the Lite series, because it has the P40 in the name. It still has quite decent camera hardware to take some pictures under good lighting conditions, but of course it cannot keep up with the big brothers like the P40, P40 Pro or Mate 40 Pro. So those are really on a different level, but also we're talking here about €200 smartphones. Alright guys, now let me know down below in the comments, would you buy a budget smartphone? So I'm not talking about Huawei smartphones right now, I'm talking really about budget smartphones in general. Would you get a cheap smartphone, or actually would you not get a cheap smartphone? Why wouldn't you get a cheap smartphone? Or actually the reason why you want a cheap smartphone, like you don't care about the image quality, you just want the smartphone to use your apps and do your daily things, then those things are actually great because they feature a huge display. Display is also kind of good for an LCD display. Then also the performance is quite good. You can play even games like PUBG, not in the max settings, but on mid settings they run quite good. The battery is really good on both smartphones. So those are things that are usually nice in a budget smartphone, but it's rarely to see a budget smartphone that actually also comes with a really good camera. Alright guys, so big thanks for watching this comparison. I hope you liked it, it was kind of different, and see you in the next one. Peace.